Hey everybody, welcome to the Middle American Outdoors Fireside Chat. This is episode 19, and Matt and I are going to talk to you tonight about what do you do after the season's over. So we'll start off tonight, Matt. What have you been up to here this last week?
Oh man, this last weekend we did nothing outdoors wise. Catching up on the home stuff. Maybe in rest and everything else. It's just, I mean, deer season was taxing, and it kind of drew out and through the seminar or the expo last weekend, the weekend before. So this last weekend here is just kind of regroup at home and spend time with Megan and the kids, and some honeydew tasks at home, and everything else. Just
got to start earning them brownie points for next season.
Yeah,
right?
Our middle child Levi turned 2 last weekend during the expo, so his birthday party got postponed a week. So we had his birthday party on Saturday, and then Sunday we smoked some ribs and enjoyed the football games and just hanging out at home.
Yeah, I seen some pictures of those ribs, man. They look good.
It was good.
I have to give that. So yeah, for me, I haven't been doing a whole lot. Doing a little bit of gear reviews. Trying to get a bunch of those shot at least and get them sent up to you so we can get that in the queue for upcoming content. Other than that, pretty much the same. I was kind of getting prepared for this storm that come through. Boy, we got hammered today. I don't know what you guys got up there, but we're at least a foot here.
Still snowing?
And it was a little bit. It's kind of let up, but I'm supposed to get a second around here later on early morning, so not sure what tomorrow's going to bring, but the kids already don't have school, and we'll see if I can at least get down my driveway. They didn't blade anything yet today on the country road, so yeah. We might not be getting anywhere tomorrow either.
And your driveway is like a half-mile long field road, isn't it?
Yeah, earlier the boys and I went out and scooped the sidewalk, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to take the wife's Jeep down, check the mail, and see if I can get down there. And they said, well, what do you got to take that for? That thing's likely to get stuck. I said, well, if I take my truck down there and get my truck stuck, then we are SOL. Yeah. If I get the Jeep stuck, it's not the end of the world. We can get it out easy. So, but yeah, we was able to get down it, but I'm going to have to talk to the neighbor and see about borrowing his tractor tomorrow.
Yeah,
but
I don't think we got quite as much. We're like at maybe 6 or 8 inches. It's still snowing pretty good here. It's supposed to snow through like 4 or 5 in the morning. The wind picks up. Right. We're gonna be in trouble.
Yeah, it was a really dry snow, so it wasn't very heavy, just a lot of it. So if that wind starts blowing, we're gonna have a mess.
Yeah. Quick shout out to the Bemidji crew. The whole crew's on.
Hey guys,
yeah.
Thanks for tuning in, y'all. We greatly appreciate it. Make sure if you got any questions or comments, I'm going to kind of take the reins tonight, and Matt's going to keep an eye on the comments. So without further ado, let's dive in to what we had planned for tonight. We were going to talk quite a bit about shed hunting, but Jake couldn't be on with us tonight, unfortunately. So we're not going to go too in depth with that. That's definitely Jake's favorite thing to do when it comes to being out there is the shed hunting. For me, I really enjoy it, and I planned on starting this last weekend, but it just didn't happen, and it's probably going to be a couple weeks before we can get out with all this snow. So, but yeah, you're just kind of getting into the shed hunting, are you, Matt?
Yeah, the last I would say 2 years we went out maybe a time or two, not a ton. When we moved here to this part of Nebraska, I basically just had access to public land, and even all the time scouting on public land and camera work during the summers, and the couple times we did go shed hunting, I never seen a single shed. And I think that it kind of gets rifled up really hard, and I don't think there's many deer around. on the public land right now, and they start to drop their sheds probably elsewhere before they start to migrate back in. But now we've got a little more access to some private ground and some new private ground that we need to get our boots on and get to learn in. So I'll probably be really putting the time in out there. The kid ages too really played a big role. Joanna's was getting a little bit older, so last year she was able to go a little bit more and actually walk around and have some fun with the dogs. But honestly, it's impossible to actually look for sheds because you're watching a 3-year-old run around and you're trying to keep track of 2 short-hair pointers that want to do nothing but run away. And so it's more just an excuse to get out and wander around on the public ground.
Sure.
And go ahead.
I will make a note for anybody that's listening. If you're looking into getting into shed hunting, it's a great opportunity for you to build a relationship with private landowners. You'll find that they're pretty receptive to letting you go shed hunting, especially if you're going to look for sheds in their crop fields, the corn and bean fields, stuff like that, because they really hate to find those things with their tractor tires. So, let them know you're more than happy to walk their field edges for them. And I find a lot of mine there. They spend a lot of time at night out there in them ag fields. So, for just a side note, it's a great way to start building a relationship with private landowners.
That's a really good point.
But I think we'll probably get more in depth into that next week. Like I said, Jake wants to get on here, and he's got a lot more experience with that than the rest of us.
Jake has an eagle eye for sheds, man. He's just got he's got a really good knack for buck habit and where they're going to be, and that in itself plays a huge role because he kind of knows where to go look right away. And man, I think if you guys watched even his camera, like his putting out trail cameras last year, he stumbled across a couple sheds and one monster shed. He's just got an eye for it. They just stick out to him big time.
And using the cameras is pretty valuable too. You can get out there without busting through all their bedding and their feed areas. You can see, put your cameras on the edges, go check your cameras and see if they're shed their antlers yet before you go actually looking for them. A lot of public ground, everybody wants to be the first one out there to find one. And I think a lot of times the deer just get pushed off of it. This time of year, it's kind of like when the rifle hunters come through. They just get pushed out and shed their antlers elsewhere. We did start seeing some early shedding this year, a little bit heavier than I've seen in the past. The last day of shotgun season here, I had one come by that was missing one side. So, but I also seen just last week, I seen 2 monster bucks that were still carrying both sides. So, getting out there early, you will find them. However, I think a lot of times you do more harm than good, especially if you got private ground. So, don't get in too big a hurry. Usually, like I said, the second to last or the last weekend of February is when I really start looking. So, public ground, it is what it is. There's not much you can do about it. There's already 3 vehicles in a parking lot. You might as well go look because they're already out there pushing them. So, try your luck and give it a shot. But if you got private ground, I'd hold off.
Yeah, and if your season's not over yet, I see a lot of complaints on Facebook. Let me fix my light. There, that's probably better. I see a lot of complaints on people on Facebook that if your season's not over yet and you've been lucky to fill your tags, be respectful of the other public hunters that are out there late season trying to fill their tags, and don't be, just because your tag's punched doesn't give. I mean, technically you can do whatever you want. You own the public land, but just being respectful that there's other people out there still hunting late season trying to get it done. Even if, it's only antlerless season, you out there tramping around trying to find sheds in January is just, in my opinion, completely disrespectful to any other hunters. And if I was hunting, I would have a hard time biting my tongue, even on public land. There's plenty of time to get after sheds. and just ruin it for other public hunters is just, yeah, not cool, guys.
Yeah, we gotta work together on that.
Yeah.
Does anybody got any questions on there, Matt?
Terry just made the comment that they're in Kansas. Most of their sheds are found, around the crop edges and fence rows. And we'll definitely jump into the tips more. I think maybe even next week we'll just do pure shed hunting talk as far as where to look, places where they're going to jar their antlers, like those jumping the fences and different things like that, in ground that's easy to cover quickly because you're not going through the thicket. And you can even, get out a spotting scope and try to look on those, the crop fields that are down. Otherwise, Sheena says that they just love shedding hunting up there in Minnesota. One of my good friends in college, guys, on the track team was from Red Wing, Minnesota, so I got used to his accent.
He probably thought you had the accent.
Yeah. That's like when we have Matthew on here and he's got his thick southern accent and we just got this, whatever it is, just absolute lack of any accent. Let's see. Brexton says, when we had that Air Force vet come out, Ben found a dead head when we were dragging it out of the timber. I remember seeing pictures of that big dead head. And Jimmy was on. Sorry we missed you, buddy. He had to get out of here quick. And of course, Big Schlongo.
Make sure you tune in later, buddy.
Big Schlongo's on. Thanks for the continued support and being on, buddy. Sorry to hear you ate some bad sushi. That's a gamble. We live in the Midwest, and I am adamantly against eating sushi.
If it's a gas station sushi, I can't say that I feel sorry for you.
Yeah. If the sushi costs $4, just walk away. It's a good diet, I guess.
One thing I want to say about sheds, a little something I'm going to be working on here in the near future. If you find an old shed, go ahead and grab it, because I'm going to show everybody a trick on what to do that to kind of revitalize it. Something I've got a pile of old sheds that I've been working on, and it's not as nice as a fresh shed, but it does make it display worthy. So if you find one that's a little, last year, the year before, it's a little chalked out and bleached, go ahead and keep a hold of that sucker. I got a neat trick to show everybody that'll be coming up.
Sweet. I know Jake's got a pile laying around all the time, so. Yeah.
All right, so I guess next I'm going to talk a little bit about postseason gear care. For me, like for clothing, let's start with clothing, Matt. Right now, I still keep a lot of my cold weather stuff is still being used, so I won't do much with it yet. And my lighter weight stuff is actually coming back out of retirement, getting it ready for spring turkey season. So I'll start going through that. You get the weekends or days like today where there's just nothing else to do. Break out some of the spring stuff, get it ready, and I'm going to be retiring the cold weather stuff here fairly soon. So what are some things you do, Matt, to with your clothing for storing it till next winter?
Mine's probably a little different. This year I bought a scent closet, so all of my Sitka gear and everything is in that one closet, and it's just hanging on the racks. And in the past, I would put them in totes and put some earth wafers or something like that in the totes, or even put it in plastic bags, like Ziploc bags, keeping it in the house. But now that I have the scent closet, that helps a ton. I just keep it zipped up in there.
Explain that scent closet just a little bit for those that might not know what that is.
This one is by a brand that I will not speak their name, but we work with Ozonics, and unfortunately Ozonics doesn't make this yet. but it's just a giant closet. It's cloth material. It's fully enclosed. You can kind of set it up any way you want, but mine's got two horizontal racks, just like a normal closet hanger, and I hang all my clothes in there, including my packs and different things like that, my saddle, and basically anything that doesn't have rubber on it. If people don't know, ozone will eat rubber. So if you're constantly ozone dry washing your rubber products, they will break down. So like I don't keep my boots and my waders and stuff in there. Those stay in a tote, sealed up as best as possible. But the scent closet, I can have all my clothes in there. It's got a unit in it. I can just turn it on and dry wash my entire closet. Maybe do it once a month during the off season or something. And the night before I go hunting, I usually dry wash the closet and then pick out the clothes I want and put them in the tote that goes in the back of the truck. I think we kind of covered that before as far as the hunting. I don't wear my hunting clothes to the field. They stay in a tote in the back of the truck, and I strip down and change when I get there, regardless of how cold it is or anything else, because that enables you to be able to eat and drink coffee and do whatever else inside. And then you get there, and I use some phase products and like the foam, and wash down when you get to the site, and then put the clothes on, and then we spray down with Deer Supply Company cover sprays or whatever else. It sounds OCD, but literally when you're bow hunting, that could buy you the 1 or 2 seconds that you need before you get busted. And I would hate to be lazy and get busted and wonder if doing more would have helped. But.
Right. So on that, with the ozone, let's talk about that a second. Ozone generators are somewhat new to the outdoor industry. I'd say probably about the last 5 years. Would you agree with that, Matt? They've kind of been around.
That's about how long I've been hunting, so yeah.
It hasn't been very long, honestly, and it's really starting to gain some popularity. What it is, it produces actual ozone, and it pretty much eliminates all your scent. The technology's been around for quite a while. So if you had a company come into your house that's, you got a weird smell, or you bought a new house and there's somebody smoked in it, they would bring this ozone generator in, and they'd run that inside your house, and it helps eliminate the smell. And it really does work. As far as tricking a deer, I personally don't feel like you're going to eliminate your scent. I think it's just a matter of how much you eliminate it, how much the deer smells it. So anything you can do to better your odds of tricking that deer is going to be in your benefit. So like with Matt's closet, it has an ozone generator in it, and it generates this ozone and eliminates any human scent on the clothing. And then you use an ozonics out in the field. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah. It sits up above you, and it, the wind or whatever, depending on how the wind's blowing, how you set it up.
Yep.
And it kind of blows over you, and it captures your scent and eliminates it before it gets to the ground.
As much as possible.
I've used one. I used one. I still have the original ozonics, and I've had deer come in downwind of me, and it never acted like they smelled me anyway. So I'm a firm believer in it. I think it works. I don't have a scent closet. However, I'll wash down my clothes when I go to put them in storage. I'll wash them down with like a dead downwind or something like that, a scent-free detergent. One thing I will say about detergents, even if you're not using scent-free, make sure it doesn't have a UV or a brightener in your detergent. I feel that if you have a UV brightener, I've seen the tests on it, and they're all over the internet. Deer see UV light colors. So there's in my younger years, I'd have a deer come out. I don't move, don't do anything, and that deer picks me off. And I feel that that's what happened. Is back then I didn't know anything about scent elimination. I just used whatever detergent we used to wash our normal everyday clothes. So I feel those UV brighteners were a big part of that. So use a detergent that's made for hunting clothes. So it's scent free, doesn't have the UV brighteners in it. And then, like Matt, I'll store them in a tote. I'll use a like a scent wafer or something like that, and keep them sealed up until I'm ready to use them again. So, anything you got to add to that, Matt?
Yeah, with the ozone stuff, guy on YouTube, DKJ Phils. I know I've talked to you before, man. Remind me your first name. I know I've talked to you several times. But he says that he used the ozone generator, works great. He used it in assisted living facilities to eliminate human odors, and like Ben was saying, they used it to like basically fumigate properties.
Yeah, and it works.
We used one at the clinic I'm in. A couple years ago, the pediatrician had a fundraiser, and they got a big hippo exam bed for the pediatrics, and the thing stunk like spray paint and then varnish, like horrible. And one of the other guys that worked there and myself, we were able to bring in the ozone generators we had at the time and just run them in there day after day after day to like eat the smell off of that thing until it was tolerable.
I've seen people take those generators and mount them in a tote as well, and kind of do the same thing.
Yeah.
When we went on that bear hunt, one of the guys had a bigger one that you could put in a closet or something like that, and we had a 2-horse trailer that we pulled out there, and it had the tack room in the front of the trailer, so we'd hang our stuff up in there, and we set that generator in the middle of it. And when you're out there sweating all day, and it was just really nice to be able to put that in there and run it overnight. We'd be ready in the morning. So
another example would be like September 7th was my first hunt of the year, and if anybody's watched that video, it's called like Covered in Deer or something like that. I had like 14 deer all around me. In September 7th, you're kind of sweaty. I do use the phase systems as far as the body wash before you go out, and the foam when you're in the field. When you're sweating, you just apply the foam all over. Kind of helps you not sweat so much and takes that odor away. On top of using the Deer Supply Company cover sprays on the clothing when I got there. I told you all the work I do on my clothing prior, and then had the HR400 or the Orion unit from Ozonics running. And I had deer circling me. One deer picked me out, and she actually picked out, if you watch the video, and Ben, you probably saw it recently because it was in my seminar, she picked out my ground scent from where I walked away from the base of my tree to put the ground angle trail camera, and she picked out my ground scent, and it was just super savvy and snapped her head right where I was at. So I don't think she actually picked up on my current scent coming down or anything. So I'm 14 deer around me within 40 yards, and not a single one of them picked up my smell. Granted, it's September 7th, and they've got their guard pretty down. But all these things, like Ben said, it's not gonna. I don't want to act like it completely eliminates your scent and you can do whatever. But if it buys you that extra 1 or 2 seconds of them trying to figure out what it is, and it enables you to get that shot off, for somebody like me or Ben, where we don't get to go hunt every single day of hunting season, and you might get a handful of legitimate opportunities at best with your bow, that extra expense, if it buys you that extra opportunity, is totally worth it for me. Like I said, we've been working with Ozonics, which is a definite blessing, because I know those things are expensive, and to be able to get them at a little bit better deal really helped. But I could not be more pleased with it. Let's see, I had a couple more things with the scent control. Last weekend at the expo on Sunday, we had a good opportunity to talk to Mike Rentschler, who is basically admin for Archers of Nebraska on Facebook. And he's a big-time hunter, and he told us a story about, and I remember following this along during the season. He did some legitimate in-field testing for the phase system, as far as using the phase stuff to clean your clothes, the phase stuff to shower beforehand, the phase deodorants, and then using the field foam throughout the day. And he said, like, I think all of his stands were set for, I don't know, I think they're all set for the north wind. And then so he intentionally hunted during the south wind all the time. And he found that as long as he continued to apply the foam, he wasn't getting picked off by scent. It shows you if you put the extra effort in, it's definitely going to be worth it. It's not going to cost you anything. I mean, it'll cost you,
Right.
but it's not going to hurt you in the field if you try this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, your best bet's always to play the wind, but things change, circumstances change. Why not? If you have the opportunity and you're able to, it sure doesn't hurt.
I'll tell you one thing I really like about the Orion, or the Ozonics Orion that I have. They have a pack called the Kinetic Air Pack, and it's made for like Western hunting, and it's so you can actually wear the Orion unit on your back, and it can be open and ventilating when you're walking in. And I tried to wear that during preseason, running trail cameras as much as I could. Just, I had it. So using that to try to kill as much scent as I could that I'd be leaving behind. I've said before, I wear rubber boots all of the time. There's nothing that I do outdoors that I'm not wearing rubber boots. So I'm just used to wearing them, and that's a huge thing on leaving ground scent. Rubber boots, you're not going to leave as much scent. But that Kinetic Air, I would actually take that thing. It's detachable, so I'd get rid of the lumbar part and just wear the shoulder part, and I would strap that to the top of my camera pack as I was walking into a stand all the time, and run it on kind of lower so it's not making as much noise or whatever, but just use that for a little bit of extra scent. And there's just some properties that there's only one access point, so if you want to hunt there, you got to try to play the wind as much as you can, but sometimes you have to give up a little bit. And so I'd wear that Kinetic Air and blow ozone as I was walking in, and I can't say it hurt me by any means.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so has anybody got anything on the clothing and whatnot?
Yeah, first of all, DKJ Phillips was Doug. I do remember talking to Doug. He wanted to do a review on a muzzleloader. Let us know when you get that Nitrofire muzzleloader review done, buddy. We'd like to edit it up.
I'd love to see that.
Post it up for you. And Jimmy's back. Hey, Jimmy. Jimmy number one cheese. I guess that's your handle anyway. He says, do you guys rifle hunt? If so, what rifle do you use? Go ahead, Ben.
Well, I haven't rifle hunted in a very long time. But when I lived out in Nebraska, that's all I did. So I started with an old Winchester 243 when I was younger, and after I got out of the service, I shot a Remington 700 and a 30-06, and had a Remington 700 and a 270 as well. And none of those calibers I had any issues with. I had a 30-30 as well, so if I was going to be hunting in the timber, in the brush, I would shoot my 30-30. It was open sights. Most of my shots were, at the furthest were 100 yards. But a lot of what I hunted was open ground where you might be pushing that 300-yard mark. I really like the 270 and 30-06 the best. They're kind of my favorite rounds, honestly.
Yeah.
I really like the 243 as well. It's more of a versatile round. You can use that for predators. Anything that you hunt in the Midwest, especially all the lower 48, other than elk or something like that. 243 is a very, very versatile round. I'd always planned on going hunting elk or something like that. That's why I stepped up to the 30-06 and then just never made that trip happen. So, yeah, we're working on that. Hopefully, the next couple of years I can get out and chase some elk. So, but I'll be hunting with a bow. So,
yeah.
Let's see.
Well, me,
let's go on. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, for me, first of all, what's up, Alex? Good to see you, buddy. He says he bought a 308 this year, but ended up crossbow hunting instead. Yeah, once you get that close encounter kill, it's hard to get away from that.
Well, I just like hunting it. I like it. You get to hunt when it's nicer out.
Yeah, and Jimmy, number one cheese, says that's what he shot his bucks with, was the 30-30. Sounds like he had a pretty good season this year for a 13-year-old, which is super awesome. For me, I've only killed one deer with the rifle, and it was the muzzleloader muley, which is still in editing. I think I'm having a hard time starting to edit it because I just have such a vision of grandeur in my head that I'm scared to taint it with poor editing or something, but I haven't even started editing those videos yet. We'll get there. But the nice muley this last December with the muzzleloader was my very first rifle kill. As far as during rifle season, Terry is on, and when I was really wanting to get into hunting, Terry bought me a Savage Axis with the AccuTrigger. It's like a Trophy 11 model or something along those lines, and it's in 243 caliber, and I still shoot that rifle the most. That's what we took out for doe hunting this year. I really like it because the AccuTrigger is really nice, makes it a hair trigger. Obviously the 243, there's no reason to flinch or kick. I do have a Ruger American 308 with the really nice Nikon Pro Staff scope on it. For the same thing Ben's talking about, that would be my go-to if we start going out west and we need to reach out and touch them a little bit better than, you know, here in eastern Nebraska. When I go rifle hunting, I basically approach it like I'm bow hunting, and I'm just going to shoot it with the rifle within like 70 yards or something. So right. I'm not too worried about, you know, the drop and the size of the bullet, etc. Even the muzzleloader shot, I sat up like I was archery hunting that deer, and I probably would have had just as good a chance of shooting him with my bow at that distance. He was about 70 yards. I'm blessed that I have quite a few rifles. I have a really nice Marlin 30-30 that I've thought about messing around with a little bit more, but yeah, that's kind of what we got. Shayla says she's never hunted in her life, but would love to, but so scared of the loud noise of a gun. I mean, all you can really do is get out and experience it. And like we were just talking through, there's so many different calibers. And I mean, you had Matthew, who was 11, is that right?
Yep.
And he was shooting your 12, and he was shooting your well, what kind of gun was he shooting?
That was a 350 Legend, and it was based on an AR platform. It's a straight walled rifle. Basically, it's a 223 that's necked up to the, you know, it's a straight wall cartridge. It doesn't neck down for a smaller bullet, which is in Iowa, you can use a straight walled rifle cartridge that's 35 caliber or larger for during shotgun season, which is really nice when you're going to get the youth out, because, you know, you're not shooting a slug out of a shotgun that kicks real hard. So if you got kids going out to hunt, or, you know, somebody of a smaller stature, the recoil is just almost non-existent. I would recommend, if you're just getting into shooting, you know, especially this time of year, start with a 22. You know, they're no recoil, they're not very loud, they're fairly inexpensive to shoot if you can find ammo right now. You know, so and you can, and there's even season still going on that you can use that rifle. You know, you can go hunt rabbits and squirrels, and which is a lot of fun. We was actually going to do some squirrel hunting this weekend. We just didn't get a chance to. But you know, a 22 is where most people usually start. I mean, even pick up a pellet gun, you know, just to develop the muscle memory of pulling the trigger, learning how to aim. You know, there is no shame. I actually enjoy going out and shooting a pellet rifle. You can get some really nice ones that you can even hunt with. So, you know, like the smaller game, like the rabbits and squirrels and such. So, you know, go to, you know, your local gun store or whatever, and pick up a really nice pellet rifle for about $100.
Yeah, a good disclaimer there would be that do your research, like know what calibers are recommended from the game you're taking. Like mule deer versus whitetail. Mule deer have such thick hides in western Nebraska that I don't think I would try to shoot a mule deer with the 243, honestly. And just out of respect for the animal, like, do your research on that as far as the recommendations. And I would always recommend, like, maybe erring on the side of too much power, too much bullet, just to be safe. Some of these guys on here chimed in on what they shoot. You got Butch or Alan up in Minnesota, part of the Bemidji crew, says he uses a 7mm 08 for many years now, and he thinks it's a very good round. Sheena said the same, runs in the family. James out in western Nebraska, James Marvier, says that he uses a 264, and he feels that that's a really great caliper for the Midwest. And then Sheena also said that her daughter uses the 7mm 08. So I'm not a gun guy, so all these things are kind of over my head.
There is just a smorgasbord of calibers that are highly effective.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's a little bit regional on what's popular too. One thing I will say is when you go to purchase a gun that, it's a big ticket item. So one thing you want to look at is ammo availability. If you say you go out west and you forgot to grab a box of shells before you left, you want to be able to go down to the local gas station and pick up a box of ammo, which right now is almost impossible. However, you do want to take that into consideration. You don't want to be shooting some round that's just, unheard of.
Ben, did you ever have any incidents when you were a little kid with maybe shooting something you shouldn't have shot with your very first Red Ryder BB gun?
No, that was my brother, actually.
Oh. Yeah, your mom's on it. Yeah. She says that your first gun was the Red Ryder BB gun and that you learned a valuable lesson about not shooting songbirds when you were 8 years old.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I did. Well, it happens. Now, my brother actually was the one that got in big trouble. He shot my dad's TV one day during a football game.
What?
Oh, yeah. I'm not going to say which one, but...
Which one of your brothers?
Nebraska was playing Oklahoma, and Oklahoma was winning, so he was going to take the guy out.
What?
Yeah. I'm telling you, I need to write a book, man. I got some crazy stories.
That's rough. That's Midwest as it gets, buddy.
I was the one that got in trouble because I was the oldest.
That's awesome.
So let's move on. We're getting off track here.
We don't have a track.
Oh geez. So anyhow, let's get back to gear care.
Yeah, gear care, archery care.
Let's talk about your guns or your bow. What you do with them after the season. Obviously, you're going to want to clean them up. Me personally, before we went to the show last weekend, I hadn't really done a lot with my bow other than shoot it. And it went to North Carolina with me, and it got the heck beat out of it there. This thing, I was ashamed of myself. It was just looking horrible. It had mud all over inside it, and I tried to take really good care of it because it's a big purchase. But I hunted hard this year, and it was looking a little worse for wear. So clean them up real good. Oil any exposed metal surfaces on your bow. Make sure you're waxing your string. That's something I do regardless. Anytime I pick my bow up, I wax my string. You can't over wax it. So
as long as you're not waxing your servings.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to be waxing the servings. One thing that I do not do is I do not store my gun or my bow in a case unless I'm traveling. It just, you're inviting moisture and I learned a hard lesson in my younger years. I stored a shotgun in a gun case and went to pull that thing out, and it was just solid rust. I mean, it ruined just a fantastic shotgun. So do not store them in a case unless you're traveling. You got anything on that, Matt, as far as postseason stuff?
The muzzle loader gets a thorough cleaning pretty often. When I would go out and sight it in, I'd clean it pretty good afterwards. You'll find that so like your normal rifles, I don't really ever clean those unless the barrel the bore's fouled for any reason. I dropped it in the ground or planted it in the dirt or something. But the muzzle loader, when you're shooting, like I shoot 150 grains of 777 powder pellets, and with the primer back there, primer cap, and if you don't take it apart, so after I go shoot it in, I clean the bore pretty good every time, and I usually clean the breech plug and stuff like that to keep it from sticking. That's bit me in the butt before a couple years ago hunting out west. And but every 2 or 3 times that I go out and shoot it a bit, I take it all the way apart and make sure to clean everything. Otherwise, with all that powder exploding back there, you get a ton of like residue and buildup inside of the action. And I didn't do a good job of doing that when I was sighting it in this year to go out west. And one of the last times I went out to sight it in, it wasn't closing real good, and then the hammer wasn't holding real good. And there was there was one time where like I pulled the hammer back and it stuck, but I don't think it clicked. And so the trigger, there was nothing to the trigger, and I was just paralyzed by, oh my God, now what do I do? Like I've got it pointed down range at the target, and I'm like, what do I do? Do I just keep trying to hammer it? I tried pulling the hammer back, but I couldn't pull it back far enough to click it. Oh, it was intense, couple seconds there, but I was able to get it to let down, and then call it a day and go home and clean it really good. And I did make a mistake. It was I would say it was 2 years ago, with that rifle or that muzzleloader hunting out west, and I was pretty frustrated by the season and stuff, and I went home and just put it in the case, and then several months later tried to clean it, and it was just like, it was an absolute mess. I could not get the nipple out, I could not get the firing pin out, and I was getting pissed off and like chiseling at it, and I tore it apart. In CVA, this is just speaks mountains to the CVA company. I called and told them what I had done, and I basically just gouged the heck out of the whole thing, and they basically had me just take the stock off and send them all of the bore, the action, the everything, and they just sent me a new one.
No kidding.
Yeah, which is unbelievable.
That's amazing.
I totally learned to take much better care of it. I mean, like I said, where the firing pin is, the screw in part of the firing pin was just frozen up, and I tried basically sawing a screwdriver to make a bit to be able to uncork it, and it was just froze up. And I chiseled at it, like I said, and I just gouged the crap out of the action, and finally broke down and talked to them.
Yeah, we learned a lesson when my father and I first started getting into shooting muzzle loaders. We didn't know the first thing about them, and that actually happened to my dad's rifle, and it didn't even sit that long. It only sat a couple weeks after firing it a few times. And I learned that with black powder, the powder itself is very corrosive. It absorbs moisture like crazy. Did you notice, Matt, when you go to clean it, there's kind of a bluish greenish color on the powder residue?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's the chemical reaction between the powder and the metal.
Yeah.
And it's so corrosive, and it just ruins your rifling. There's some great products out there that we can talk about some other time, but to help combat that, when you're going to store it, there's some products you can put down the bore to protect it. But geez, every time you come home from shooting a muzzleloader, you want to tear that thing down, hot soap and water, clean them up real good, oil them, and I know people that even leave them disassembled until they're ready to go shoot again, just to keep things like that from happening. because those breech plugs will just get stuck on those, and you can't get them off.
Nope.
They just will not come off.
Yeah. As far as the bow stuff, I would say I've said many times, like, I'm a tinkerer. I tinker with my bow like crazy. I've been tinkering with it like crazy. I didn't mess with it as soon as season was over because I wanted to wait till the 3D shoot at the expo. But as soon as we got home, I'm immediately messing with it, messing with my release and how I release and doing all these things. Between now and August is probably when I do the most shooting. I do the most tinkering. Once August 1st gets here, no more touching the bow. Like, if you're good with where it's at on August 1st, I don't mess with it anymore because I have 1 month then of no screwing with it and just get used to it. So as soon as September 1st comes around, you're good to go. Definitely do not tinker with it once September 1st hits unless there's something egregiously wrong that I need to fix. And then I'm like you, Ben. Once seasons really get going, I don't do a ton of shooting. I do a little bit of like the random yardage, just to mimic what it's like to get in the tree stand. And you know, you don't get to go to your tree stand and pop off 10 practice shots at different distances. You're waking up at 3:30 in the morning and you're traveling to the property and walking in the dark, and as soon as the light breaks and that deer's there, you better get it right. One-time shot.
Right.
And so I do a lot more like you do, where I just throw the target out on, you know, private or public ground. Whatever distance I walk to, I range it and take a couple shots at that distance and call it. And then I head in to go hunt, basically. But I don't make a lot of dedicated time to go out and actually practice the bow during hunting season.
All right, I want to see what you think about this, Matt. So, say you're a person that doesn't have the opportunity to shoot a lot between seasons. So, you know, you might go out a month before season, and that's when you pick your bow up and start shooting. So your bow's going to be sitting, hanging on the rack all summer. Is there anything special you would do to your bow during that time?
When it's hanging, or what? Or when you start shooting again?
When it's hanging.
I would still take it down and wax the strings. I mean, the strings are still getting tension on them all the time. They're going to dry out, and they can dry rot if you don't mess with them. Perfect example, I work on some friends' bows here with the bow press that's behind me. And we got the full bow shop set up here in my basement. And I was working on a friend's bow. His younger children are deciding to try to shoot some archery, and they've been doing a little bit of finger slinging with some bows. And he used to bow hunt quite a bit before he had kids running around. And so he busted out his old bow, and it's been in a case, like Ben said, for probably at least 10 years or more. And I got some new strings for it. It took me a while to find them, but I was able to get it. Small sidetrack story here, Ben, is he actually did buy that at the archery shop in Nebraska City.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. He used to live down that way, but by Conestoga kind of or whatever, but yeah, he got it at the archery shop in Nebraska City. And so anyway, it takes me a while to figure out how to get strings for this thing, and I put it on the bow press and get the strings on, and I start doing some draw, you know, put it on the draw board to look at cam timing. Piece of plastic on the braces for the limbs busted off, about took my face off, because the actual bow had basically dry rotted from not being shot. Like, it had strings on it, so it was at tension for 10 or 12 years just sitting there. And then as soon as I put a little bit of tension on it a few times on the draw board, boom, piece of plastic just busted off and went flying. And I've got that bow sitting right here. I basically told him, you know, if he wants it back, I'll take the strings off and he can just have the bow as a, you know, a keepsake or whatever.
A wall hanger.
Yeah, a wall hanger, but I would never shoot that bow again. I'd never put it under tension to that extreme again, because if that one little piece of the bow was able to fracture, who knows where it's going to fracture next time.
Exactly. And that's kind of what I was hoping you'd say. You know, for me, don't let your bow just sit. Get out and shoot it as often as you can. You know, even if it's just once or twice a week, go out and just shoot a couple arrows. It doesn't take much time. You know, they're kind of like a vehicle. If you let them sit, things are gonna start going wrong. So get out and shoot it. Wax your strings. You know, put a little oil on your cams, check it out, and now's the time. Season's over. You really want to go over your bow, check your limbs, look for cracks, which is something you should do frequently anyway. But now you really want to clean it up good, take a real good look at it. And, the last thing you want is for this thing to be sitting there and you go to pick it up before season and you're looking to, a limb's cracked and you're scrambling trying to get a limb replaced on it. So really look over it now.
Archery, I'm looking at some exchanges going on here. Shayla Pence up in Midgie asked, is it easier to shoot a bow? For me, yes. I suck with a rifle because I put all my time into shooting a bow and not into shooting a rifle. For somebody else, it'll be a different story. What Ben's talking about, though, when people aren't shooting all year, like it, I guess I don't understand it because I'm addicted to it. I just love shooting my bow. Like, there's nothing sweeter than that immediate, gratification of the clean break, the perfect shot, hammers right where you're right on, dead on. Shooting that 3D course when you make a couple good shots, like, oh man, it feels so good. But you can't do it without a ton of practice. I think that's why it feels so good too, is you have to practice. I don't want to slander rifle hunters, but you can put your rifle on a gun rest with a turret, and all you got to do is pull the trigger, If it's somebody else sighted in, whatever, you can do that. You cannot do that with the bow. Like, you have to do everything right. It's like in my mind, it's like a 15-step process from the time I take the bow off the hook to arrow in the target. And you have to do every one of those 15 steps exactly the same every single time perfectly to get the perfect shot off. And so if you're not, if you're putting your bow down in December, you're not picking it up till August, to me, I have a really hard time with that. Like, I had a person one time get after me about how she felt that archery was very unethical, that rifle hunters and, gun hunters kill their prey quickly. And, there are a lot of stories of bow hunters needing to get tracking dogs and not making clean shots and the bad things that can happen with archery. And if that doesn't fuel you to pick up your bow at least once a week all year long, then that's really hard for me to swallow that somebody would do that.
For sure. I had a poor shot early season this year, and it still eats at me, and that pushes me to become a better archer and a better hunter. Archery, any form of hunting is a discipline, and you really should put in the practice. Even if you're a gun hunter, you need to go out to the range. Like for you, Matt, you have a little bit of issues with shooting a gun. So this year, before you went out, you were out the range a lot preparing for that hunt. So we're not talking down on gun hunters because we're gun hunters too. However, archery is a true discipline, and you really, to be effective at it, you've got to put in the time. And that comes into the care of the equipment too. You really got to pay attention to it and put the time and effort into it to be good at it. So I think we've kind of hammered on that one a little bit. Wait, I almost got into a side topic there. I want to save that for another date.
Got about 5 minutes.
Okay. Let's, you say we got 5 minutes left?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to talk briefly about like the tree stands and stuff like that. I feel it's really important. I really want to touch on that. If you have permanent stands especially, please take the time here in the near future to go out, loosen your straps up on your stands. You don't have to take them down, but I encourage you to, especially your steps, because that tree is growing. And I found a set of steps in a tree that had probably been there for about 4 years, and the steps were almost folded in half. And you go to climb on that, your straps get dry rotted, the squirrels chew on them. And the stands themselves, especially if they have a cable between the post and the footrest, the platform, I've seen a lot of those cables break on people and dumps them out of the tree. I'm going to be putting a video together here in the near future about tree stand safety, and so I'll get into a little more depth on that. But please, if you have permanent stands, go check them out, look them over real good, loosen your straps up, or take them down. I just want to encourage everybody to do that.
Oh yeah, I got a million stories working in medicine, man. Like, I mean, there's a guy, I didn't take care of him here in this area, but this hunting season, he went and hunted a piece of private ground that he had permission to go hunt, and the guy that normally hunts there told him it's a tree to go sit in, and he went up into a ladder stand that the straps hadn't been checked, and the straps busted on him, and he fell to the ground and got hurt real bad. I had a guy when I was doing an ER rotation during school who got up into a hang-on stand, and same story, was on his own private ground, and he just hadn't checked straps, and it was definitely early season. I'm pretty sure it was in September here in Nebraska, and when he was standing on the hang-on stand, the straps busted. And for him, I mean, it was egregious. Like, it was horrible injuries because he didn't even fall at an angle. He wasn't falling out of the tree stand and his momentum arm going sideways. He was just standing there, or actually he was sitting, and it suddenly just broke free and plummeted straight to the ground. He had no opportunity to try to move his momentum, so he just crumpled into a pile and he's like a 28-year-old guy, and he just shattered about 8 vertebrae in his back from that kind of thing.
I had a really good friend of mine this year that had to fall out of a ladder stand, and he's one of those people that's very adamant about harnesses and tying off, and even he's not real sure what happened, but it's tree stand safety is something I take very seriously, which is one reason why I'm going to put a video out about tree stand safety. So I'll get more in depth on that in the future, but
yeah,
with the topic of postseason, one thing that I always do is pull my permanent stands out. You can put them back up this fall, and I usually replace all my straps every year, regardless of how good they look. So, and I check all my stands over real good. So anyhow, let's kind of wrap this up. One thing I really want to put out is we have our bow giveaway coming up, and I'll put details up here when I get back to the house tonight. We are going to be giving away some bows to veterans and first responders, so make sure you stay tuned on our page here with the details on that. On that same note, if you have an older bow, or you're going to be upgrading and you'd like to donate a bow, we will definitely help you get into the hands of somebody that's deserving. We've got 2 for sure, possibly 3 that are going to be ready to go. I want to give a huge shout out to our buddy Jim Baker. I don't think he's on tonight. I tell you what, this guy, he helped us out when we did our youth bow giveaway last fall, and we just had a tremendous outpouring of generosity from him. Really helped out a lot of kids. I think we sent out 19 packages and gave away 3 bows. So, or was it 3 or 4? I think we gave 4 away because, we bought that
3. Oh,
we got that.
Yeah.
We got that kid bow as well, the little toy bow.
Yep, 4.
So we gave away 4 total bows last fall, and it was we really enjoyed it, and we made some kids real happy. And so this spring we want to give away some bows to, like I said, veterans and first responders. So stay tuned for that. That's something that I'm personally very, very excited about. So I know Matt and Jake are as well, and we're looking to have a lot of fun with this one. So if you're interested in helping us out with it, reach out to one of us, and we'll tell you all the different ways you can help. So
right on.
Other than that, that's about all I got. You got anything else, Matt?
No, I think with the giveaway we'll do a little more formal public announcements of it and pushing it, but like we did with the youth bow giveaway. But there's the introductory to it. Like Ben said, like if you got an older bow and you're not even sure if it'll blow apart, we'll take it. Like I said, I've got a bow shop right here in my basement. Some of the bows we had last year, we had Extreme Bowstrings out of Norfolk, Nebraska, donated some strings to us to be able to restring those bows. I could put them through the draw board and shoot them here in my basement, and so that we know that we feel confident in sending them off to somebody. We restrung all of them. We didn't feel comfortable, sending something with any sort of used strings on it and something that hadn't been put through the test recently. So if you got a bow and you've upgraded or whatever, but you're not sure that it's perfectly safe, send it to us and I'll do the testing on it and put on my safety glasses and be safe. We won't put it in some random, person's hands and then have something backfire and go south. And we've got the ability, I've got the ability to restring the bows and tune them and get the cam timing and alignment and all that stuff so that these people get a pretty good bow into their hands. Yeah, Sheena asked what about bow hunting accessories? Go ahead, Ben.
Absolutely. So one thing Jim sent this go around, he's already sent one package. I think we got another one coming. In this one, there was a quiver. There was a sight. So some of these bows we get don't have anything on them. So people will take their accessories off, put them on their new bow, so we'll end up with a bare bow. So, stabilizers, releases, wrist sling, sights, quivers, all that stuff is stuff that we can put to good use.
Yeah, it enabled us to, we had like 25, I want to say, nominations for the Youth Bow Giveaway. And we were actually able to send every single kid, even if they didn't win one of the 4 bows, we were able to send every single one of them a package with the Middle American Outdoors shirt, some swag like stickers and stuff, and some sort of hunting item or items, thanks to all the donations from stuff that we had laying around that was unused, and then everybody out there that sent us stuff to send to them, which was really cool. Like we shared last week that one of those kids and his father here in Nebraska were at the expo and we got to meet them. Adam Turner and his son William.
I think that's right.
I struggle every time, but we were able to meet them at the expo and it was just really cool. But definitely, if you guys have gear that you want to send, we will take anything, and we just make sure it goes to somebody else, somebody that's going to be able to use it. We're all blessed to have plenty of gear. So
yeah, I don't need more gear. I'm getting rid of gear.
Yeah. People that won the other giveaway, your stuff is getting shipped out anytime now. So be looking for that as far as the subscriber giveaway recently. And yeah, close it up, Ben. It's your show.
Yeah, on the subscriber thing, if you're not already, make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube page. Get on our podcast, subscribe to that so you can keep up on what's going on if you're not able to get on here live. We really appreciate everybody that does get on here live, interacts with us. We have a lot of fun with this. But help us out. Help us get the word out there. Everybody that's been doing it so far, we greatly appreciate you. We love y'all. And that's all I got for now.
Nailed it. We'll see you guys next time.